You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of truth, a dimension of freedom, a dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the capitalist corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the capitalist corner.
That's right, folks. Where reason meets reality. Capitalist Corner. Happy Thursday to you, folks. I am your host, Mark Pellegrino, also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz, who also has his own show, The Rational Egoist. This thing is throwing me, Michael. This on the agenda. There we go. Now I can actually see as what was going on there.
Persephone just made a whole agenda.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
You know, it's good, but that's not exactly what I thought we were going to do. I thought, like, when we started an article, we could post the article real quick, just show what it was we're talking about, and then go on. We didn't need the entire...
It would be good if we communicated that to her in advance so that she actually knew.
No, let's not. No, we're not going to just rescue her. She's an adult and she needs to be responsible for reading our minds. I'm sorry.
Michael, what is going on in what's going on in The Rational Egoist? I did mention that you have your own show called The Rational Egoist, and it's a show that everybody should be watching.
I'm actually interviewing James tonight, Jim Valiant. Hopefully it'll be up by tomorrow, and it's going to be about the relationship between Rothbard and Rand. In light of these new letters that have been discovered from Rothbard to Frank Meyer. I'm actually writing down right now all the things that Rothbard, not all, but the things that Rothbard blatantly misstated in his little essay that he wrote.
Damn libertarians, folks. This is a reminder that this show, The Capitalist Corner, is not affiliated with the American Capitalist Party. If you want to know what that party is all about, please go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org. Donate and be a part of the change, folks. Michael, now I have to, since you sent me articles from the Epoch Times, I actually subscribe to the Epoch Times, but every time I get on with my device, it makes me go through this stupid process, that I have to go through this ridiculous check process multiple times before I can access these articles.
Okay, why are you telling us about this?
I'm telling you this because I actually had to go through that pain in the ass.
But I've already know, because every time you mention this.
No, I don't mention it every time.
I'm gonna Persephone. Can you do me a favor? Persephone, go back and find the clips of all the time Mark has said. Whenever you send me Epoch Time articles, I have
you
a
said
problem
every time,
Michael, and blah
Michael,
blah blah.
Don't start getting sloppy with language now that you're on the chopping block.
Okay, I misspoke. It's not every time, but
Okay.
let's say it's 30% of the time. It's too much.
Not even 30% of the time.
It's a good 30%.
Look, people have to hear about this news.
No, they do not.
Obamacare premiums are set to soar ahead of open enrollment, which is supposed to start November 1st for folks. First of all, Michael, what do you think of this? They're saying that premiums for some people are going to go up over 100%. Now, Obamacare has already raised the premiums on most people. I have a friend, this is anecdotal, of course, so it's not necessarily an indictment of Obamacare, even though the Capitalist Party would not be aligned with Affordable Care Act. It would want a free market in medicine. My friend's premiums went up from about $400 a month, which is steep, to $1,500 a month, which is way too much to be paying for medical insurance. But now, of course, the government has stopped and has been at a standstill over whether subsidies should continue for $1.6 trillion in subsidies for Obamacare over a certain period of time. That's what they're futzing over at the moment.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Can you just back up just a little?
Dude, I am all the way back on my chair.
You're not against the wall, so you're not all the way back. You can just back up just a little bit.
I'm against the back of my chair.
No, you back your chair up, Mark. The chairs move unless it's bolted to the ground. You look so confused. Did no one told you that chairs move?
This chair doesn't move. It's backed up against the wall. You have no idea how huge this chair is because you've never been to my house.
I also don't have the money to buy the world's largest chair.
I didn't buy the world's largest chair when I had all that money either. So talk about this a little bit, Michael. Well, first of all, this centralized controlled medicine now leaves us at the whim of congressmen as to whether or not our premiums go up. That scares me. Should we have this socialized medicine? Should we have
No,
the Affordable Care Act anyway at all?
no, there's actually Leonard Peikoff years ago wrote a great essay. I want to say it's in The Voice of Reason. Um, and it's all about how the cost of healthcare went up since the adoption of Medicare, Medicaid. Once the government starts getting involved, the cost goes way up. So it's no surprise that once Obamacare got, once the government got involved there, it goes up as well. Again, and we can notice this pattern, Mark, virtually every time. I'm dropping my chapstick. Virtually, every time you have a government interference like this, is you have the immoral initiation of force by the government in the terms of telling people, telling companies what they have to charge, what they can't charge, or taking some people's money to finance other people's health care. You have that effect, and then you have the economic effect of rising prices, shortages, that sort of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And you also have this phenomenon where the standard for this insurance becomes insure everybody. This arbitrary standard of insuring everybody, which forces some people who want to gamble, who think that they can take the gamble on not having insurance, that they're going to be healthy for a certain amount of time in their lives and don't want to make that expenditure, or who just want to pay for liability insurance and not all the packages that Obamacare has with it. You take away their rights as well. The right to not pursue this industry, the right to not insure yourself, under the assumption that everybody should be insured. And once again, the government forcing us to do what they think.
But that's gone, Mark. I believe that got struck down.
What's that?
The individual mandate.
Well, it still raises the prices for everybody who chooses to be insured, and what they talk about are the people who will lose insurance who wouldn't ordinarily.
I'm all for critiquing Obamacare. I'm just saying that we need to be accurate. We can't critique an individual mandate.
You're not accurate when it comes to talking about my chair, Michael. So don't talk about accuracy like this.
And I think that's codswallop. I don't believe that chair is against the wall. It doesn't look like it's against the wall. I think you're making that up. Okay, and if it is, maybe get a different chair so we can get you back up. Perception.
At what point do you just not take insurance? This is a question from the gallery, folks. I have some anecdotes with respect to that. My primary care physician will not take insurance anymore. He does strictly concierge medicine.
Really?
And he's a top physician who now you pay cash and you deal with the insurance yourself. My heart doctor also will not take insurance anymore because they spend 75 to 80% of their time getting permission from insurance companies, which are just monopolies that are set up by the government, filling out forms for them, getting permission from them instead of actual patient care. And the insurance companies will insist upon certain treatments that go outside of what her individual plan is with the patient. So it's too much interference. He simply does not want to get involved in the system anymore. And this is going to be more widespread. The more centralized this gets, the more the big brains and the good doctors are going to leave. It interferes with patient care, direct doctor-patient care.
I got to get a new camera. This is going to drive me crazy.
Have you had that experience, Michael, at all with the medical system yet?
No, I've had this experience with my boomer ass, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing as far as technology goes. So I end up either we get clips where my face is this huge monstrosity on the screen. I tried to back up, but then that made the microphone look too big. And it's really aggravating me this morning. Like this has been going on ever since Persephone sent me the clips this morning, because somebody told me yesterday, dude, your face is huge. You gotta get a camera or do something else. I don't know anything about it. So then Persephone sends me the clips, and now that's all I notice is your huge face and my huge face in these clips.
That's okay.
So I tried to fix it.
That sounds like something you have to work out in therapy, Michael, not here on the show.
This is my therapy.
Okay, Rational Frontier says something really interesting here. There used to be something called lodge societies back in the day, which gave extremely good health care for very cheap for the poor. The book Mutual Aid and to the Welfare State is a must-read.
He's a foreigner, so I don't know if we really, I'm just saying.
All right, we're not Republicans, so you don't really have, you can't really say that here.
No, I can
That's
say it because we're not Republicans and we're
before
for
the
free speech.
Forks before the welfare state rose its ugly head in the mid '60s. Uh, uh, for the Great Society, there was such a thing as mutual aid societies, churches,
Yes.
independent organizations, people of like minds got together and they volunteered their time and or their money to pay for people who could not afford medical care, and they gave it because it was charitable. They gave that care very well, as opposed to the state-run systems now, which are the opposite, which rob people of human dignity across every aspect of humanity, right? I mean, don't you think, Michael, that every aspect of this healthcare system robs a person of their dignity, robs them of the dignity of choice, of choosing the medical treatments they want, of relationships with their doctors, of choosing the hospital that they want, of the procedures that they want, of being treated with dignity inside a hospital, since they're not predominantly, because there's no real client relationship with the people who are engaged in the transaction. I mean, I find it to be corrupt all the way across the board, don't you?
Yeah, you said it all. What I can add, though, is my own personal experience with government healthcare, and that is in the Huskow. So when you're in the Huskow, you basically have free healthcare. I mean, you have to pay like a $3 copay per visit, but that's not so bad. But what you end up with is you put your stupid little request in the box, and then you got to wait until they call you down, which is sometimes, a few days. So by the time you get down there, you feel better half the freaking time. But there's a contentious relationship between the patient, in this case, the inmates, and the staff, because it's basically free. You have inmates that go down there for every little thing. That, of course, annoys the staff, which there aren't many of them. So that now they take it out on even the people who aren't down there trying to, rip the system off or whatever. It's just a nightmare all the way around. And I'll give you an example. So I get cold sores. And the treatment for cold sores is something called the cyclovir. But you have to take a cyclovir within 72 hours of you first getting any symptom, right? So the problem is you go put your request in the box and they get to you in 4 days. By that time, it's too late to take the acyclovir. So what I would do is I go to the desk and I say, I want to go to medical. I can't wait. And then you end up arguing about, you got to go through the proper channels, but it doesn't work that way. And after, years of this, they just beat me into attrition where I just said, hell with it. I'll just deal with it. Right. Without having to go there, because it's such an aggravating thing. And I mean, it's so obvious to me that that's what happens if you have socialized care. You make it free for everybody. People just start going for every little thing, and it's not coming out of their pocket, so they don't care. And you end up with waiting lines and poor healthcare.
Actually, I have another anecdote that I think bears fruit here.
Nice, real mature people in the chat. Especially, I expect this type of thing from Deeper with Diego and even Lucifer, but not from Persephone.
So I'm not following the chat at the moment, but I have an anecdote here as well. When I first started having heart problems, I traveled to France. It was a late flight, but I was going to go watch an acting class with my wife. I had a cup of French coffee in a boulangerie or wherever the hell we were, a patisserie, and I proceeded within 10 minutes to have a massive atrial fibrillation. And my heart was going about 170 beats per minute, even on metropolol, which I think I might have been on that drug at the time, or something like. I don't know if I was yet. But I had to go to the hospital. It was so bad I couldn't watch the class. I had to go to the hospital. Of course, I went to a nationalized, socialized hospital, where they kept me in a single room for a little while, where they did the EKG and then proceeded to tell me they couldn't find anything wrong. Of course, my cardiologist evaluated the EKG as actually showing that I was in full atrial fibrillation. But then they just wheeled me down in a gurney into a mass room with about 50 people lined up against the wall with various kinds of diseases and states of decay. And they left me there, and there was a massive nurses station in the middle. And they left me there for hours. And I kept finally getting up and saying, what's going on? I feel better now. I think I need to go home. And they just looked at me with the deepest contempt. I finally got out of there after 7 hours, Michael. I finally get out of there. I have another event like a couple of weeks later, and I end up going to the American Hospital in Paris, which is a for-profit hospital. I pay 300 euro to go in there. I get seen immediately. I get diagnosed immediately, and I get the drugs to help me that will help my condition. About 2 months later, I get a succession of 3 bills in the mail from the French government, totaling more than what I paid for the for-profit hospital. Because I'm not a French citizen, I didn't have a carte vitale. I had to pay for the service, which I don't mind paying for the service. Especially
Hold on. You can't just use that type of language and move on. You didn't have a what?
A carte vitale, which is your special card. My wife has it, that you're now in the French socialized medical system. Okay. So if you're outside of that system, I found out, you don't ride on the back of it. You have to actually pay for it. Of course, $400 for an 8-hour stay in a hospital is not that much money, but it was still more than I paid for the for-profit American hospital, which gave me far better service in, about a 50th of the time. So that's what you look forward to, folks, with socialized medicine. Practically, it's going to cause problems. It's going to increase demand relative to supply. The brains and the innovators are going to leave the business because there's no incentive for them to stay, or they're going to go outside the business and start doing it the way my doctors are, and you will suffer for it. And it's also going to demoralize you as a human being. As one paying for the system, if I'm in a certain income bracket in any given year, Michael, I pay $5,000 extra to Obamacare every year. So that's $5,000 in medical expenses that I didn't have to realize that could pay for food, rent, clothes, education. It can go to any other value in my life, but those resources are siphoned off of me by the parasitic political class and given to somebody who I don't know, who didn't earn it from me, who I didn't ask to take it from me.
It's so bad, Mark, the healthcare in prison, right? And it's I don't attribute it to prison. I attribute it to the fact of the way that it's run, which is socialized. My friend Brent, working in the wood shop, cut the tip of his finger off on a table saw, not the entire tip, just a big chunk, and refused to go to medical because he didn't want to deal with those people.
Wow, that's awful. That's saying something. Apparently, according to Nicole Hingle, if you still get them, you can take the amino acid lysine. You can buy it at Walmart.
Yeah. You're going to get us a little notice like we got yesterday. On YouTube, they gave us a notice for talking about global warming. It said, according to climate scientists, and now we're going to get one today. This is not a show for giving medical advice. If you have herpes, please see your doctor.
Well, now that you've just given the disclaimer, we don't have to do that.
We're not doctors. And, the whole, come on, people. The herpes, really? Persephone, like I said, I expected better of you. But if that's what you want to do with your time, then that's okay. So you know how we got in our argument the other day?
You and I got in an argument, you and I? That's weird.
Yeah, on the show. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't mind arguing. So this guy, my friend here, Rational Frontier from India.
Okay.
He made a video where he and his friend are critiquing the idea of intellectual property. So I told him, I said to him, dude, you set up a straw man. I said, just go back, whatever, check. And he's like, oh, Ma, if you think I did something wrong. I said, no. I said, keep doing what you're doing. You're learning. Just keep, going forward. It's all right. And he keeps hounding me. He wants a critique. So finally I give him a critique. After I give him the critique, he's like, dude, are we still friends?
Why, you were mean to him?
I wasn't mean. I'm a peach. But anyway, so I said to him, right, I'm like, dude, I said, no, you hounded me for a critique. He says, hounded? What's that?
Well, good. It's better to live in ignorance in that moment. Well, so also, Michael, you sent me an article from another Epic Times thing that Democrats must move to center to win elections.
Were you able to access this article, or do you want to tell us in the next 5 minutes about?
I did it previously, knowing that I would have to go through the rigmarole in order to access it, even though I am a subscriber and shouldn't have to do that, and it should know my device already by heart. So this doesn't seem to be the trend, though, Michael, even though some strategists are saying in federal elections, the Democrats need to move more towards the quote unquote center, whatever that means to these statists. they seem to be moving further left, which seems to be ideologically and morally consistent. I mean, actually, it's the Mandamis of the world, Mamdanis of the world, who are the intellectually consistent ones. It's the AOCs of the world who are the intellectually consistent ones, and morally consistent ones. The Squad is morally consistent. Bernie Sanders is morally consistent. That seems to be winning popularity. That seems to be the thing that the people are gravitating towards, not the middle of the road stuff.
I think here's what I think, and this is, my armchair analysis. I think that if they focus on their socialism, that they do much better. I think when they start getting into culture stuff about LGBTQ and trans and all the identity politics that they engage in, I think they falter. I think when the Democrats focus, and I wish it weren't true. I wish they would just go away and be replaced by a pro-capitalist party, like the American Capitalist Party, for instance.
Which you can go visit at AmericanCapitalistParty.org. You can donate and become a part of the change, folks. Get out of the tribe. Get into rational egoism and individual rights. Make it great again. Go ahead, Michael.
So, you see what I mean about interrupting? My whole flow. But anyways,
I hate hypocrites, but go ahead.
Yes. Well, life's tough. So anyways, the problem is, so if you just are a socialist and you were out there consistently advocating socialism, you're advocating socialism for everybody. And now the economically illiterate and morally backwards, they are attracted to that. In unison. Socialism for everybody. But once they get in and start divvying things up by focusing on your trans, they get some special rights, or your African, blacks, they get their special rights. The gays get special rights. Women get special rights. And you got all these different groups competing with each other. I think they lose a large swath. And the folks that they lose, especially the white, the lower class whites, they then go to the Republican socialists, who are basically offering the same stuff, just without the cultural
baggage. Yeah, it's become a culture war. Rational Frontier says rational egoism was never not great to begin with. I agree with you, but it's never had a wide acceptance. I mean,
it was never anarchist either. Just throwing that out there. Rational Frontier.
That's true. Is he an anarchist?
Yeah, he's great. He's 22 years old. He's wicked smart.
Way to go. We're gonna try to sway you away from anarchy, my friend.
We're gonna bring him on this show one of these days. I told him that to give us some news from India.
Into the moral frontiers of capitalism, where rational egoism is actually the guiding principle behind individual rights. Anarchy does not have those principles.
Anarchy?
Anarchism.
You said anarchy.
No, I didn't. Socialism is on the rise, and Bible sales are up 30-some%. Left and right are heading in the wrong directions. That's James Valiant. Wow.
The mystics of mind and the mystics of muscle.
Yeah, each side is gravitating towards their most moral expression, and folks, you're going to get ground to dust in the middle of that. You sent me a tweet from Vance Ginn, that I thought was great. It says healthcare is broken not because markets failed, but because markets were never allowed to function. This is very important to remember, folks. I don't know that they were never allowed to function, but I would certainly say since Roosevelt and since third-party pay, so definitely for close to 80 years or so, they haven't been allowed to function. Since third-party pay introduced, I think, lots and lots and lots of pricing issues into the market, pricing problems, because now the customer was not directly affected by costs, and the market reflected that. The deep pockets of employers were, and so I think that's what started the rise in prices. So before that time, Michael, you'd get even into the 50s, after this third-party pay started happening, you'd get house calls from doctors. They'd come to your house and they'd examine you there. You get the full red carpet treatment, something that none of us can relate to today. So even back in the day, it was far better. A burden is the inevitable result of central planning. The Empower Patients Initiative offers the way forward. I guess I didn't see the article or read the article, so maybe you did. because he offers a series of solutions here: HSAs without limits, Medicaid block grants, direct doctor-patient relationships, and transparent pricing. If we free even half of the dollars now wasted on burden, America's healthcare system would become more affordable, more innovative, and more humane. Patients would no longer die in queues, families would keep most of their wages, and doctors would be free to heal. The question is simple: will we continue feeding the bureaucracy, or will we empower patients? That's a pretty powerful tweet, man. I love that.
That was freaking great. Van Skin is great. He's going to come on here. He interviewed me on his podcast, but I'm distracted by the chats because Chuck on Money has just gotten on my bad side for the moment. Chuck on Money says, just don't straw man his anarchy position by saying he is a David Friedmanite, then arguing with that. I stopped listening once you invoked Friedman. One, I never said he was a Friedmanite. That's the first point. Two, I debated him for an hour and 15 minutes on my show where I never once invoked him as a Friedmanite. Three, if I mention Dave Friedman as an anarchist on Twitter, it's because David Friedman is an anarchist, but he doesn't preempt the field. And if you stop listening when you hear something you don't like, you're apt to not get the full context and learn everything that you need to learn. So perhaps keep listening, keep going forward, and then you'll get the whole thing. But you can go watch my debate with him about anarcho-capitalism, his variant. You can watch my debate with Michael Huemer about his variant. You can watch my debate with Walter Block about his variant. And you can watch my debate with the aforementioned David Friedman about his variant. And interestingly...
How many people did you mention there, Michael? 5, 6?
A lot.
Five.
And the interesting thing is, this is what I run into, right? I've never once been accused by any of the experts I've debated of straw manning their position. I've also never been accused by any economist from any school that I've interviewed of not understanding the economics I'm talking about. I've also never been told by a philosopher I don't know what I'm talking about. I am, however, frequently told by people on Twitter that I don't know what I'm talking about. So, Chuck, I love you. I love that you're on the show, but you got to come better than the straw man that you constructed, which is accusing me of a straw man.
I love it. Deep with Diego says, mystic of muscle. Socialists are too thin and weak to protect their women. Soy boys, mystics of mind. Adults who think a 2,000-year-old Harry Potter story is intellectual.
You know what I thought, Mark? You're going to like this. You're going to like this, what I'm about to tell you. I love getting off topic because it's what I do. I got OCD, whatever, ADD, all the Ds. No, not all the Ds. Scratch that. Okay.
Like you don't have the PD.
That's not the one I was referring to, but I don't have that either. The herpes that I have has to do with cold sores, not the other type.
I got
not
that.
the other type. No, but the chat is all over this.
People don't understand that cold sores are a form of herpes and that it's not necessarily a sexually transmitted disease.
No, okay. But I was thinking about libertarians, right? And you know how they loved... I'm going to tell you why. Because you know how they tout the non-aggression principle? Yes. I'm starting to think that this adherence to the non-aggression principle stems from people, by and large, who can't fight. So what they do then is they throw up this non-aggression principle and then act like the biggest dicks on the internet. And then when someone tells them they're going to sock them in the puss, they say, whoa, non-aggression, dude. Yeah. So I made a joke with this guy the other day. We were talking about, different types of government. And he says to me, what if you and I are on an island together and we have a conflict? How do you resolve that? I said, well, I'm pretty sure I could take you. He said, okay. He said, but really, how would you address it? I said, I would take your shit and you could scream NAP into the wind and I'm still going to have all your stuff. Right. But no, I'm not saying that's it. I'm just saying, I think there's something to the idea that people hide behind the NAP so that they could be jerks. That's all I really mean, because you think that you could be the biggest jerk in the world and just say, "Whoa, but it's non-aggression." I agree. You shouldn't just physically assault people over words, but I also think that it's pretty dickish to hide behind that while you insult people and are a jerk to people.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. You know that about me. So this was sent. Who's Mike Allen? Because you got this little piece of news from, it says Mike Allen on it. Who is that?
Mark,
You don't have
I
to answer.
send you stuff from Mike Allen every day. Every
Really?
day.
Well,
Yes, Mike Allen is Axios.
Okay, good. I didn't know that. So, Rational Frontier asks, is it rational to fight? Are you not being a parasite by it? What? No, sometimes it is rational to fight, my friend.
In self-defense.
Yes.
In self-defense, yes.
And that's not parasitic.
Mattress Mac, it was a joke. It was not. I'm not really saying that libertarians come from not being able to fight. It was a joke.
Okay, so apparently, Michael,
criminy.
Stephanie has made a slide for this particular piece of news we're going to talk about. So I'd like to post that slide up there if you can, Persephone, and I'm going to read the bit of news for everybody because it's a little scary to me. It should be scary to everybody out there. I'm assuming this audience is predominantly people who don't like the expansion of the state and see what the Trump administration is doing now as state expansionism. Well, it says the Pentagon is creating a National Guard riot control forces in every state that could respond to civil unrest. The Wall Street Journal and the Guardian report why this matters. The new quick reaction units, scare quotes, of course, there, with about 500 soldiers each, reflect the Trump administration's push to expand the military's role in responding to protests and unrest inside the U.S. The soldiers will be equipped with batons, body shields, tasers, and pepper spray and receive training in crowd control and handling. President Trump signed an executive order in August directing each state to have National Guard troops that could be quickly deployed for quelling civil disturbances and ensuring the public safety and order. Boy, that's open language, my friend.
What?
I said that's open language, quelling civil disturbances and ensuring public safety and order. I mean, to me, that's open language.
Yeah,
open language.
They're looking for more. They're looking for more and more excuses to send their goons, who they're going to call the military. And I shouldn't say. I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying the military are goons. But Trump wants to use them as goons, I think would be the more accurate way to put it, to implement his agenda. That's what he wants to do. He thinks that every problem that he thinks he identifies can be solved with the military, constitutional authority to do so or not. And so that's what he's going to do. And you're right. It's like the claim of emergency. Everything's an emergency now. So that allows him to go do whatever, he thinks he can do. I'm very disappointed in some of the audience today that doesn't understand that when I'm joking. I've often heard this about libertarians that they don't, and I've heard it about objectivists too, that they don't have sense of humor. But the idea that I was really going to go on a desert island and take someone's stuff, and especially from Rational Frontier, how do you not know that I was joking, guy? And you watch the show on a regular basis. Come on, be better, do better.
Probably a language gap there. It's just coming off of this from the Free Press. I want to elaborate that Trump goes even further when he talks about not just National Guard troops. He says President Trump said he is prepared to send more National Guard troops into American cities, citing violent crime and attacks on federal immigration enforcement. Quote, this is from Trump, if we need more than the National Guard, Trump told hundreds of U.S. troops based in Japan on Tuesday, we'll send more than the National Guard because we're going to have safe cities. Again, declaring emergencies that are not emergencies that enable him to expand his powers. And then literally, Michael, this feels like a page straight out of the British occupation of Boston, to be honest with you. I mean, we're coming to that phase where the king seems to be expressing arbitrary power. And
I just hope I don't end up like Crispus Attucks.
Yes, let's hope not. Thank you.
I'm so happy that you got that. Like for a second, it didn't look like you did, and then we were going to have a real problem.
I didn't. You pronounced it in a funny way, so I didn't realize who it was for a second. But for all you who don't know, he was one of the people killed in the Boston Massacre, a little riot that happened in the 1770s against some British troops that were quartered there. Wasn't good. John Adams ended up defending those troops.
He did.
They ended up getting off, but. Crispus Attucks, I'm going to pronounce it the way you did.
How would you pronounce it?
Was ironically a slave or a former slave? who was
he was I think descended. But what do you mean the way I pronounced it? How do you think you're supposed to pronounce Crispus
I don't want to
Attucks?
talk. I don't want to talk about that because
Then why'd you bring it up?
I may pronounce it wrong, just to embarrass you publicly. Why not?
Didn't embarrass me. People know I pronounced it right. You're having the problem. Look at you. You're staring like you're Mr. Magoo.
Because I'm
away.
trying. You know what? I think you should read the private chats or put them up on the board so that the print is a little bigger so I can see them a little.
Yesterday you told me don't do that.
Look, Michael, you're having me sit like 20 feet away from my screen. So now the print gets smaller the further I get away. So even though these glasses are good, the print is teeny. So now I have to go like way up here to see the print, and then you get on my case about getting too close. I personally like the little cut snippets that I see with my face taking up the entire frame.
Your giant blurry face.
My giant I'm good with it.
Yeah, but we're not getting. That's the point. Isn't that Mark Pellegrino is good with it? The point is we want to promote the show.
Yes, and that we're going to promote it with a giant blurry face. You sent me an article from Reason that I thought was very interesting. Republican socialism goes nuclear. Trump bets $80 billion on government-backed energy. Now, Mike, talk about the details of this article a little bit. It's because it's with Westinghouse Electric Company and what Trump is planning on doing with nuclear.
We just got criticized for Megan Ribbons. I feel like everything's falling apart. Ever since this morning when I saw my big face in these clips, I have not been right. Like it's been all morning with this. And now Megan Ribbons is telling us we need more science and education stuff. I don't know. But the basic gist of the article is that the government has no goddamn business in the energy sector. Trump is now going to be subsidizing or wants to subsidize nuclear energy. And the point of the article is no, the government just needs to stay out of it and let the free market flow. And I could not agree more. It's like they go from prohibition to funding. It's like in the, we went from you cannot serve African Americans in your restaurant to you must serve everybody that comes in, whether you want to or not. And it's what always seems to happen with the jackamos that are in the government. And you know what? Let's be perfectly honest. People don't like to say this, especially politicians, but I'm going to say it, and it may not be good messaging, but what the hell? It's not like I'm picking up all kinds of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Converts anyways. The bottom line is this. Until the people in this country want a free country, we're not going to get it. So you have to blame the people of the country for the type of politicians that we get. It's that simple. Right? And I get it. And people are saying, oh my God, he's blaming us and that's not right. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm fed up. You can see my big face in a comment because that's what you're going to get. And it's going to be me complaining about the American people and how they keep choosing these politicians and policies that I can't stand. Now we have an out of context comment from an Indian talking about how he studies engineering and physics.
Not out of context. Because it was off of Megan's comment that we need.
Then more. Perhaps Megan get together with Rational Frontier, and you guys can talk about all the science all you want.
So, Michael, without reducing these regulations, without reducing all these sanctions against nuclear power, just simply throwing $80 billion at the problem isn't going to solve it, because that $80 billion is going to triple and quadruple and quintuple as they try to build these reactors under the auspices of the government, right? I mean, so we're talking, this will probably wind up being an $800 billion fiasco. Yeah. Just like the charging stations that the government was supposed to build all across the country, and 8 got built for a cost of like $8 billion or something.
This is the article, by the way. Republican socialism goes nuclear. Trump bets $80 billion on government-backed energy. Just get out of the energy sector, you prick. Oh, yeah. And by the way,
yes.
Oh, see, we got this Mattress Mac guy who's, I can tell, going to get on my nerves. Was insinuating that places of service shouldn't be able to deny people of color another joke as well. I actually didn't say that, joking or seriously. What I said was that the government used to prevent people from serving who they want, and then went to the other extreme and said they couldn't deny who they want. Yes, of course, I think that people should be able to serve whomever they want. Rational Frontier, if I love that you bring your anarchist friends to the show, but they got to follow along, man. You got to get along. And by the way, Rational Frontier, I love you. I love Megan Ribbons. I would love to see you guys do a science show. I'd even be willing to bring you both on the Rational Egoist to do a science thing.
So you sent me an article in Daily Economy today. We have never been austere. One of the things I keep hearing from the American communists when I actually used to, unfortunately, follow them online, not really follow them, but try to follow their arguments, they always use the term neoliberal. And because of the neoliberals, focus on free markets and government austerity, we're leaving people worse off. But Michael, this article goes on to demonstrate that we've never cut spending, we've cut the rate of growth. But we never have had actual cuts in government. Government has continued to grow exponentially since the 1960s. And so this thing called austerity has never happened. We could use a little austerity, for crying out loud. Austerity would be great. That's the way the socialists like to characterize it, though, as if austerity is a bad thing. What do you think about this, man? Because this seems to be the narrative, and there's no getting away from this narrative that neoliberalism is a thing, and that neoliberalism is responsible for all the ills of the world, and neoliberalism is actually rational self-interest, free markets, yada yada, a whole host of categorizations that I don't think actually belong to modern day liberalism at all, including this moniker. What do you say about this?
So this article was actually from an economist that I know and like, Michael Munger. It's from Daily Economy. He actually wrote the article on unicorn governance, which absolutely helped me to focus my mind on a lot of issues. I first read it in prison, probably, 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, first of all, just the sound of austerity, right? They make it sound like it's going to be this thing, like you're going to suffer. Why don't we call it freedom? How about we call it?
Because then people would want it. People would want it. Like, austerity sounds like sacrifice.
Call it keeping your stuff. Be able to do what you want with your own stuff. Not have the government stealing it and spending it, and then not spending as much of it. And now you're going to call it austerity. But either way, this guy Michael Munger, he's absolutely spot on in here. He comes out and he says, look, actually all they've ever cut is the growth in spending. They have never actually cut spending. He says they've never cut spending as a percentage of GDP. And he says they've never cut spending per capita. He said it's all codswallop. He didn't use that. That's my term, of course. But it's all BS. But what we do need is spending cuts. We need spending cuts. We need tax cuts. We need people to not be dependent on government. We need the government to do less, and we need people to keep their own money. Seems simple.
Indeed. Rational Frontier says, I like austerity. Indeed, I like the government to be austere in its spending, and I like human beings to be maximally free to do as they choose with their property. That's what government austerity means. It means all those resources are not being sucked up by the parasitic political class, but they're out there for you to gain and keep if you have the capacity to do it. Michael, over the last,
here's a question. I want to get to this. Can we answer this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you answer it.
We're not representatives of the American Capitalist Party when we do answer questions like this. We are just two guys talking about this stuff. Go ahead.
It says, what if, for example, Qatari individuals, obviously backed up by their government, want to buy nuclear facilities? Will it be fine? If they want to buy nuclear facilities to provide energy to the American people, yes. It's absolutely fine with me if they do so. I am not for the Qatari government building nuclear weapons on American soil, but that's a different thing. So if Qataris would like to, buy things and they're going to produce efficient energy that people want and it's going to be better for people, yeah, why wouldn't I want that? The fact that you put the Qatari next to the individuals really doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I don't want, like I said, I wouldn't have another government building military bases here or putting in weapons installations, but an energy plant, I'm fine with it. What do you think, Mark?
I tend to agree with this. I'm more for this than I am for Qatari funding state school programs that miseducate the youth about what's going on in the Middle East and indoctrinate them. So, of course, that could happen in a private school where you have control completely as a private citizen and as a parent over the curriculum that your kids want to study, or that you want your kids to study. But of course, if they want to benevolently fund and build plants here that make us more vigorous and help American people and people around the world to thrive, I'm all for that. That's what open trade means, man. It means you're exchanging with people. That's what creates the benevolent societies, is free exchange with people, not trade wars, not cutting people out, but an inclusiveness. So, Michael, over the last 10 years or so, I've been hearing a lot about this thing called MMT, modern monetary theory, and it served as an excuse for a lot of politicians, particularly on the left, who now think they can spend money with impunity. Now, I've seen some of the lectures of the guy, I guess, who sort of invented this strange system of looking at currency.
It's not a woman?
Oh, I thought it was a guy, because one of the main people I saw in a debate ages ago with who's the libertarian economist that Tom Woods always has on, and
Bob Murphy, maybe.
Yeah, he was having a debate with Bob Murphy, and I actually think he beat Bob Murphy in the debate. I didn't think Bob Murphy actually had the answers that he should have had.
Bob Murphy blocked me for no reason at all on X.
So I tell me if I get this wrong, Michael, but the idea is that if you're a monopoly producer of currency, you'll never run out of money. So you really shouldn't have to worry about inflation. You can control the velocity of money by simply taxing that excess money out of the system. Isn't that sort of the way it works?
No, it's not. No,
but I thought you controlled the velocity,
and we found that out. And by the way, the monetary expansion and all the programs started under Trump. For the get-go.
That's right. They started with his response to the COVID.
Right.
Virus.
But no, I mean, look, I can't even believe what year are we in? 2025, where we still have people out there touting the idea that printing money, whether it be actual printing of cash or digitally generated or whatever the hell they're doing, I'm gonna have to answer that in a second. So you print money, you end up with rising prices, you end up with malinvestments, things appear profitable that aren't, interest rates send mixed signals, and you ultimately end up with the boom bust cycle. We should have known this by now. Well, I knew it, but people should know this by now. But yet these, it never stops. The socialists, the interventionists, the big government folks, they always come with some new way that they think they can control people, or, as Milton Friedman said, they want a free lunch, and it's just codswallop.
Well, I couldn't agree more, but you didn't answer my question. I thought they control the velocity of money by taxation. Do they? I thought they control the amount of money in the system through
Who
taxes.
does? The monetary?
So the modern monetary theorists claim if you're the monopoly producer of money, you'll never run out of money. You just have to control. You can control.
Okay. But if assuming
I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it works.
No. Well, let's just take it a little further. Let's say, what are they going to do? They put the money in, and then they're going to tax it. First of all, again, the great Milton Friedman points out that by the time the government interacts to respond to monetary problems or other interventions, it's usually too late. So by the time they're going to respond to the rising prices, the devastation is already going to be, sent throughout the economy. But even if they then tax, well, are they going to tax and not spend? Because if they're going to spend the money, then you're just redirecting it. Or, are they going to save it? I don't. Where's that going to go? Are they going to put it in a bank? If they put it in a bank, then the bank loans it out, and it's back into the system. So I don't know. I'm not a student in depth of modern monetary theory, but I do know that more money means higher prices and distortions in the economy, and you don't need to be an expert on that.
So you wanted to answer a mattress Mac, didn't you? his question?
Yeah. What did Mattress Mac want to say?
Why do you argue that austerity is preferable to?
But first, I want to address this. He says, I only popped in here to talk about austerity. Didn't mean to piss you off with the other comments. Genuinely was just like, what the fuck are these people talking about? It's okay to get in here and piss me off. I'm unhinged half the time. Don't worry about it. We're very good with people.
Unhinged today, though, so it's
I'm especially unhinged today. The big face thing set me off.
This is a little bit unusual. So,
but it's fun. It's all fun.
Let me read the question here. Why do you argue that austerity? You got it up there. So why do you argue that? Go ahead. You do it.
Why do you argue that austerity is preferable to alternatives such as the Keynesian approach? I was under the impression that empirical evidence suggests that austerity leads to higher debt GDP ratios. So for one thing, the article that we're talking about was that there was no austerity to begin with, that it never actually occurs. So the empirical evidence that you're talking about wouldn't be measuring actual austerity. So let's talk about that. Now, okay, the Keynesian approach is based on a lot of fallacies, and I can't really, we don't know. Maybe I got to do a whole show, I think. What we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get an economist on, and we're going to do a whole show on Keynesianism one of these days, because it's too much, because you have to get into, is the consumption function correct? Is the macro approach to economics correct? Which I don't think it is. I think the consumption function has been shown to be bunk. And then you have to talk about the Keynesian multiplier. Does that actually work? I mean, I know Keynes put together a lot of equations, but those equations don't actually match reality. And so, does the deficit spending of Keynes actually work to produce prosperity? Is his theory of the business cycle correct? There's just too much of that to get into to actually answer your question. But Mark, if you're up to it, we'll get a expert on the subject and bring him on, and we can talk about it.
I think we should. I think
Right.
I think since our economics has been ruled by Keynesianism for a very, very long time, I think we should get people on here to make the distinction between Austrian economics and Keynesianism. I remember Hayek, when he used to criticize Keynes, would say he's not even an economist. He's a mathematician. It's like this isn't his gig.
Yeah, Hayek, and I think he's probably right, said that Keynes had a political philosophy and created an economic theory to buttress it. So yeah, Austrian economics is the way. So Rational Frontier, let me just tell you, this is how insidious all this can be. He tells James Valiant, sorry for hounding you on this. An hour ago, he didn't know what hounding meant. Now he's throwing it around left and right like it's his word. Come on.
Yeah. He's owning it as his word.
Yeah, I mean, come on, at least give some credit.
You also sent me the final article we're going to deal with today from The Independent. Here is socialism is not the solution.
I don't want to do that one. Can we talk about the Dave Smith stuff?
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about Dave Smith.
Yeah, go ahead. Put that. Let's see.
I can't talk enough about that creepy little human being.
Do you know what? Let me tell you something funny. You're going to like this. So I asked Grok the question this morning. I said, Grok, I've submitted about, a lot of my debates to you for analysis. And I said, I want you to rate me on the following as a debater: factual accuracy, logic, coherence, and persuasion. When it got to the persuasion stuff, it says you may want to try catering to the audience a little more, perhaps learn from Dave Smith.
Oh my God. Which is all he does. This is the perspective of Carrie Rea. Carrie's Rea. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She says,
it doesn't matter.
Comic Dave Smith's worldview defines the difference between simple and simplistic. His shtick works well when he's speaking with someone like Rogan, who isn't well versed in the subject matter. His rapid-fire delivery, peppered with context-free half quotes, hearsay, and anecdotes, is particularly.
No, not that one, Mark. We did that one yesterday.
Oh, we did?
Yeah. I got the one that we're doing right here. I got
Go
it
ahead.
up here. So
Put it.
Dave Smith says to Josh Hammer of the Daily Mail, what the hell? I guess Josh Hammer wrote an article about Tucker Carlson and said Tucker Carlson needs to be neutralized. Or he said these people or something need to be neutralized, something along those lines. And Dave says to him, what the hell do you mean when you write that Tucker Carlson must be neutralized? Seems like pretty reckless thing to say in the wake of the biggest political assassination of our lifetime. Also, who the fuck is Josh to decide who ought to be neutralized? Josh has not been elected to anything and has zero popular support.
Oh,
Hold on. Let's finish. Millions of people love Tucker. Josh is known for being friends with Charlie and getting smoked in a debate with me twice. That's it. Okay, now give your analysis.
No, I just love that he said Josh has, and who in the fuck is he to decide who ought to be neutralized? And his standard is elected position or popularity. If you have any of those, then you can, of course, decide who's neutralized. But on your own as an individual, you're just a lone wolf. Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate use of language for sure. But
I don't even agree with that. I don't even agree with that. The article was about these right wing, the Groyper folks, the conspiracy folks, and he's talking about these people need to be neutralized. It was all in the context of an intellectual argument.
Well, he said here that it's in the context of political assassination, as opposed to saying they need to be neutralized by rational speech.
Yeah, but if you read it, but I actually read the article. But let's just get to, so Dave is the one who always criticizes and says that people who call speech reckless, they're opposed to free speech, or they're trying to silence people. This is a guy who buddies around with Jake Shields, talks with Nick Fuentes, praises Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, and you're going to talk about reckless. Get the hell out of here. And then his I swear to God,
trying to parasitize their audiences is what he's trying to do.
His whole thing about popularity, it's like, oh my God, dude, did you get your ass kicked constantly in high school by the popular kids? And now you feel popular. So you're like, popular, I'm popular. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter how popular you are. That doesn't mean you're right. This guy is perfectly within his rights to state his viewpoint. Disagree with him. Show why he's wrong. But your damn appeal to he's not even popular. Come on, man.
Yeah, that gives him any legitimacy to say what he says. That's what all the libertarian fanboys of his love to say. Oh, you got ratioed, which means your tweet, even though it may have been more rational than Dave's, just didn't get the view to like ratio was poor. So you must be saying something that's fucked up.
Yeah,
because the view to like ratio is poor.
Absolutely. August Sun 3, I would suggest just Google real quick Milton Friedman's critique of the consumption function. It's going to give you a far better fast critique than what I'm going to give you in 30 seconds on this show.
Good, folks. Yeah, he is a parasite. Rational Frontier says of Dave Smith, the man didn't even make his bones as a comedian. He didn't become famous as a comedian. He's become famous as a shticky pundit for amorphous ideas. I think he's glomming onto whomever he thinks has an audience and trying to parasitize their audience from them. So, Michael, you have to give the capitalist thought of the day, and I'm going to give the question of the day. What is the capitalist thought of the day, my friend?
Okay, I'm going to give a little bit of a different capitalist thought of the day today.
Okay.
Capitalism ultimately, as we recommend it, is based on individual rights. Human beings have rights because of our nature as rational, ethical beings. That means that we have the right to pursue our own interest the way that we see fit, as long as we don't violate the objective rights of other people. And if somebody physically interferes or prevents us from doing these things, we have the right to self-defense. This is why we put together governments. It's for collective self-defense, and those governments are legitimate only to the extent that they stick to their role as the defenders of rights. Just think about it in terms of time, energy, effort, thought, all the things that you put forward to act on a daily basis, to make your living, to establish your relationships, and ask if anybody out there has the right to physically stop you from doing these things. And if they try, do you have the right to defend yourself? That's ultimately what we mean when we advocate capitalism.
Oh, now Persephone that's very good, Michael. But Persephone says we should get Mike's answer to yesterday's question.
Which one?
It was the horror question, right, Persephone?
No. She wants me to answer the most liberty, the most pro-liberty movie. I don't know if it's the most. I don't know if it's the most, but I'm going to go with Spartacus.
Okay, so I went with Barbarian Invasions.
Yeah, I picked an iconic film. Mark picked some offy movie no one ever heard of. Spartacus is it. I am Spartacus. Stand up and be counted. Let's roll.
All right. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. Folks, you have 23 hours to check your premises. So remember, we're going to be back here at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, I didn't give my question. I didn't do my question. Yes or no question. My question that you have to answer.
It doesn't have to be a yes or no question. Just give a question.
I'm gonna do a yes or no thing here. And you can go to it on YouTube and answer it there on YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the content, and even if you don't, like and subscribe anyway, just because we're good guys, and share it across social media platforms because it helps the algorithm. And I think this message needs to get out to more people. My question for everybody out there today watching us is: has Michael had too much caffeine today? Yes or no? Now, do you like that? All right, I'm going to go even further. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Go ahead and answer that on YouTube, folks. We'll see you here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Check your premises up until then, folks. Peace.
You should have asked if my face is too big in the clips. See everybody tomorrow. Bring your questions.